Okay, these are other topics that were in Chapter 6. This is G9. So this is all about parallelogram properties, rectangle, rhombus, just quadrilaterals, okay? So trapezoid, kite, all that stuff. You really need to have these properties memorized, and it's really not that bad because these properties, they look true. Anything that deals with parallel lines, parallelogram, or just parallel lines and transversals, you know, if you think about it that way, it makes it a lot easier. And if you look at this example here, this parallelogram has, these lines are parallel to each other. So this acts as a transversal. So I have alternate interior angles. So that's something that we can use. So you need to know all these properties. And let's try this first question. So what is the measure of DEF? The letter in the middle is what really matters. So DEF is this part right here. So there's several ways you can do this. Like I said, I mentioned that this is like a transversal. These are my parallel lines. So the alternate interiors are going to be congruent. So I can put 56 here and 44 here. Now to find E, DEF is a triangle. So all I have to do is 180 minus 44 minus 56, which leaves me with 80. Okay, as always, plug in anything that you know, mark the picture. We want to find angle D. We turn it x is 5, which means that this is 20, and this is 40. Okay. So again, I can go ahead and throw that over here if I want, alternate interior angles. Like I said, there's more than one way to do this. This is just the way I'm choosing to do this. And then I can focus on the fact that this is a triangle and do 180 minus 20 minus 40. And that gives you 120. Okay, and then we want to know what angle D is, and that's what we found. Rectangle. A rectangle is a parallelogram, so it has everything a parallelogram has plus a little bit more. So the main thing with a rectangle is that it has 4 right angles, and that the diagonals are congruent. So this question, they're telling us it's a rectangle, and it says which of the following is not necessarily true. Watch out for those nots. Like I said before, those are the ones that always throw me off. So we want something that's not true. So let's just read each one and see which one is the best answer. XY is equal to WZ. Well, that should be true because it's a rectangle is a parallelogram and the opposite sides are congruent. Choice B says YZ is perpendicular to WZ. Well, we know that rectangles have 4 right angles, so yeah, they're going to be perpendicular. XZ is congruent to WY. Those are the diagonals, and they should be congruent. Last one, XY is congruent to XW. That does not have to be true. Only the opposite sides have to be congruent. Okay, so some more on rectangle properties. Again, always label what you know. So angle 1 is 50. And what happens is the diagonals are congruent, and they also bisect each other. So what happens is all the little pieces are congruent to each other. So what that creates, if we focus on just this one little sliver, if you will, is that's an isosceles triangle, because these diagonals are the same. So I know that these base angles are the same. So all I have to do is 180 minus 50, and then divide by 2. And that gives me 65. Which additional piece of information would verify that the frame is a rectangle? Okay, so again, let's just read through all of these and see which one seems like the best answer. B is congruent to D. That's true for a rectangle, but it's also true for any parallelogram, so it's nothing special. We want something that's, special about the rectangle. AC is congruent to BD. Okay, that is special to a rectangle. The diagonals are congruent, so that's the correct answer. Let's read the other ones just to make sure. AC and BD are perpendicular. Yeah, that's true. But that's also could be true for a lot of things. And angle A is congruent to angle D. Or not congruent, but they add up to angle A and angle D add up to 180. That's nothing really special, just parallelogram. So diagonals congruent, that's really key. This is also true. Choice C is also true for a rectangle, but there are a lot of things that can be perpendicular. It doesn't necessarily mean that these are. Okay, a desktop was made from the scrap of plywood shown by cutting a straight line from C to E. Which measurement would ensure that the desktop is rectangular? Okay, so again, let's just read through all these options. AE equals EB, AC equals BD, EC equals CD, and DE equals CA. Okay, there we go. Last one is correct. We've got the diagonals are congruent, so that's what should make you think of rectangles. Rhombus. The key thing here is that the diagonals of a rhombus are perpendicular. That's what you're going to use most of the time. They also have 4 congruent sides, and the diagonals bisect the angles. So let's do a couple of those practice questions. The measurement of EFG is 28, so that's this angle right here. Now rhombus has 4 congruent sides, so let me mark that. What happens is that an isosceles triangle is created. So I can figure out these angles by doing 180 minus 20, it's 28, and then dividing by 2. So these are both 76. Now the diagonals bisect the angles, so if these are if this is 76, then this is going to be 76. And if this is 76, then this is 76. So what is the measure of GDE? Well, I went ahead and did all that work, and it was actually kind of unnecessary, but it's okay, it's good for review. GDE is right here. That's actually just going to be the same thing as 28, because in a rhombus, or any parallelogram, opposite angles are congruent. But it's always a good idea to just go ahead and label everything that you know, and just get it out of the way, and hopefully you've answered what the question's asking. Okay, let's do some more practice with the rhombus. What is the measure of CBD? So it's this piece here. Okay, so if this is 40, this is 40, and these all have to be the same. A couple of ways you could do this. I'm going to use the fact that this is an isosceles triangle again because it is a rhombus. So if I do 180 minus 40, I get 140, and divide that by 2, I get 70. And these are all going to be the same. Okay, square just has everything that a rectangle and a rhombus has. So if you see a problem with a square, I mean, you can use any of those things. I can use the fact that this is a 90-degree angle. I can use that these are all congruent, all right angles. There's a lot of things going on here. Just know that the square has everything a rhombus and a rectangle has. Okay, there's really not a whole lot. Those are the main ideas. We also have the kite. The diagonals are perpendicular on a kite. That's the key thing there. And with trapezoid, you have 2 trapezoids. You have just a regular trapezoid, and the only thing great about that is that the angles are going to be supplementary. If you have an isosceles trapezoid, the legs are congruent, which means the base angles are congruent, and the diagonals are congruent. Okay, you might see something like that on your SOL. I really think that the focus is going to be the rectangle and the rhombus, and just knowing those properties. Okay, so now you should try the worksheet and check your answers. Take the quiz. This is G9, Chapter 6. Let me know if you have any questions.